Welcome, everybody. I am excited for today's conversation. My guest is someone who has not just built one successful business, but multiple, and who has really made a name as a bold, creative leader in the digital agency world. Lysa Miller is the founder of Ladybugz Interactive, which is a boutique web and digital growth agency that specializes in early growth companies, especially in the biotech, nonprofit, and women-owned sectors. But that's not all Lysa has done. She has launched her agency. She has grown startup communities in New England. I wanted to pick your brain, Lysa, about what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for that lovely
Absolutely.
introduction.
Absolutely. So, all right, let's start where you are now, right? So I did mention Ladybugz, and I know that you really are focusing on the agency right now. Agency focuses on early growth brands. Is there anything that has changed for the agency? Has the scope evolved in the last year to 18 months? What are you really leaning into deeply now?
So when we started like back in 2021, we sort of started with a biotech focus, and then as we
Hmm.
started to grow, we continued that focus. So, we have found that recently we've launched a new agency for biotech. And so, we still have Ladybugz, we have the new agency, but the offerings of that agency are going to be a little bit different. So, something about Ladybugz is we are always iterating based on what we feel like clients need. And so it's not always about like what we want to do. It's not always about like, oh, we just want to churn out websites and do digital marketing. We're just seeing a trend for people like needing different things and needing it packaged up differently and different types of processes and timelines.
Uh-huh.
So with the new agency, we're trying to do a different offering. We're focused on that. We still have agency Ladybugz as our main agency. We're building all that still, but we're still offering the same services, just kind of mixing it up a little bit into like more different types of packages for our clients based on like what their needs are and trying to like play with that pricing a little bit to make sure we are meeting the target for where different businesses are in their growth journey.
Awesome.
So
It sounds like you had success in the biotech space for the first years, and now you're building a niche agency to focus on the problems and solutions a biotech company would need. Great idea. Were there any specific client challenges on that space that caused you to say, we need another brand to talk to these biotech folks differently?
I don't know if it was that as much as figuring out what they need. We can sell them what we have. They're always looking for a website, but like trying to get them to, what we see is like a lot of biotechs will have like a website already and a logo and content, and like they just want to redesign and they don't realize that like a redesign is great. But it is kind of still just like putting lipstick on that pig. We wanted to get in earlier and help them tell their story and help them, if they do have a brand or a logo already, to help elevate that, because that is like when they're early growth and they don't want to spend money. That's when they'll go on like a logo website and make a logo and they love it. But then when you just raised $100 million and you're building a website and you're going to spend X dollars on that website and you're going to use the free logo you did, that doesn't make sense. They don't want to change because they've been using it.
Right.
Just educating them a bit more, bringing them through, we're calling it a brand accelerator. We help them establish their brand, messaging, build the website, and with a launch and growth plan like down the road. So, because so many just come in quick and they have something that they want to do. And that's how Ladybugz was designed, to kind of help them come in quick, get them what they need for that next stage. We're just finding they could use a holistic package and don't realize that when they put money aside, they don't put enough by offering like these accelerators for them. They can kind of see like, oh, we need all this stuff. And, this is something we should plan for in the day and age where like, I think web design and writing and stuff like that is not valued because of AI and because anybody can build a website. It really
Mhm.
isn't like that. There's still a lot of custom design. You're really getting that vision of that the owner or the founder or CEO. How do you need a high level designer and a high level message person? So it's not, there's people who value it and there's people that don't. But I guess that's like saying, going to a really nice hairdresser versus top cut.
Yeah.
So anybody can cut hair, but everybody's going to do it differently. Spend more money, get higher level people, and get what you really need. And everything shouldn't be based on budget. Everything should be based on, how you want to grow and where you want to be in 5 years. So if you
Hmm.
invest minimal amount of money, like in that type of marketing, like you're not going to get as far. You're better off like doing a lot of investment in the
Hmm.
beginning and then not investing as much later. So
Not having to redo it. So
yeah, yeah.
it sounds like you find yourself having these conversations with clients quite a bit, and it can be a difficult conversation. So, is there anything, that you say that you feel like, oh, okay, I saw a light bulb go on and they realized, oh, wait, I should be thinking about this differently. Anything that strikes a chord with them and gets them to see the bigger picture.
I mean, unfortunately, sometimes they see the bigger picture once they start the project. So,
Right.
when you're like, we should help with content, your messaging, they'll get into the project and they're like, oh, like maybe we do need help. So that does happen. Or like, they'll get a really nice website design, but then they still have their logo on there. Or like we might elevate the logo a little bit and they'll be like, oh, maybe we do need to elevate that logo a little bit. So sometimes
Hmm.
it's hard to convince them until they actually see it. And you never want to push anybody into a decision. Like, I never want to be like, you have to do that. Like, you want them to justify why they're doing it and to value it themselves. Going through that process with an agency like ours, you're positioning yourself to have continued growth with us. If you end up going public or needing different services and levels of services along the way, you have an agency that's been with you through the journey and understands your business and how it works. That could go for any business. It just so happens we've nailed that down in biotech. So,
Yeah. You talk about building agile teams that are built
mhm.
for the client's needs. And you just spoke there really well about, you know, partnering essentially with your clients, right? Like, hey, like I can help you do what you need to do right now, but I can also help you do the things you're going to need to be doing in 5 years, and we can partner together to get there together. Are there any processes or rituals that help strengthen that long-term client relationship?
I think because we are a boutique and go through that agile process, we become very friendly with our clients. We do emails and have a person that outreaches to our clients regularly. We also do things for them in our newsletter. If you have any wins, like your biotech gets funding or you're at a conference, it's a great place for them to get out there. So we'll reach out to them and be like, do you have anything you want us to promote? So we try to help them that way and stay connected that way. But mostly we are just maintaining things and, but most of our clients do come back when they are ready to come back. They're not going to really go to another agency for the next level of service. We've experienced that, which is nice. It means they're
Hmm.
happy and love what you did. We're on our fourth project with a company in California we started with 4 years ago. We've done multiple projects for them. We have
Nice.
clients that are great and they don't have the internal resources to do a lot of the stuff that we can do, even if they have a marketing manager. Like it's just sometimes
Hmm.
easier to hire an agency.
It's better to hire an agency than to have to hire a whole marketing department, right? I
Mhm.
mean, it depends on their stage of growth. For a startup, it's easier to go with an agency you trust than to hire all of the marketing folks internally. I'm gonna switch gears a bit. You've got Ladybugz, the biotech agency you just launched, and I see in your background you've also built some communities and you've done work with co-working spaces. What do you feel like serial entrepreneurship is just in your DNA?
I wouldn't say that it's serial entrepreneurship.
No? Okay.
I think it was an iterative journey I didn't know I was going to take with the co-working space. When I merged my agency with another agency in 2016, we joined a building in 2015 and not a lot of people were coming in the office, so we started a co-working space there and that was really great because it allowed us to meet a lot of people and kind of get our networking. When our building got full, we had another co-working space that just opened at the time, so we were able to send everybody there. And then we ended up using that co-working space for like big events. So it's been an iterative journey. One thing leads to another. I never planned to do Ladybugz 2.0 after the
Uh-huh.
first time, but COVID changed everything. And that's how I got here. All those journeys were to get me here. They were all rewarding, but this is my send off.
It's important to stay open to what life is offering, right? You mentioned iterative journey there a couple of times, being able to make changes and shifts along the way. You touched on a big shift for us in the digital agency space. How did COVID affect you and your agency?
I left my previous agency during COVID in the
Hmm.
first few months. Starting in COVID was weird because things were tough for all agencies. That was an advantage for a small agency. So, going out, being more flexible, being more agile, being more
Hmm.
boutique, that was an advantage for us. And so what happened was we were busier, like when other people were really struggling. And so that was again a little bit of a nice thing because if other agencies were not busy, they would ask us like, can you give our designer some freelance work or different stuff like that? So I got to build a lot of relationships around that and along with help other agencies like keep their people busy. It was a really
Hmm.
good experience for me. I don't think it was a great experience for every agency.
No.
And I think even now is a tough time for agencies. It seems when times are tough, we get busier, and when times are good, we slow down. It's bizarre.
I think
You
there's
know,
something to that. The marketing space is interesting. I started my agency during the Great Recession, right? So it was 2010. Like you said, being small, being boutique, being agile, being willing to go the extra mile really helped out a lot, right? And there were a lot of folks who needed help. When you're smaller, you're not charging as much as the big guys. So I think that's a little bit of an advantage too. Starting in a spot like that can be beneficial. But the flip side is sometimes clients' marketing budgets get cut when times are tough. It could be tough sometimes. Is there anything you're looking at, any bets you're placing in the next year to help accelerate your growth? I mean, you already mentioned kind of niching down into that biotech space with the biotech agency. Is there anything else?
That is one of the main things we're
Hmm.
doing. And we're going to niche down into more dividing the marketing for service-based businesses and bring that out of the Ladybugz business so we can like hone down and focus on like the nonprofits, the B2Bs, and then take that smaller division and set that up because all three need different resources. So if like you're
Right.
sharing resources in a company that does like a lot of things, it makes it harder to create by separating it out, having like the service business over here and the biotech business over here. Ladybugz can focus in on more of like what we really want to be doing at Ladybugz, which is like we're mostly doing nonprofit. We
Mhm.
also love helping like local service-based growing businesses, even if they're smaller or if they're very large. It doesn't really matter. We love working with local companies. And so I
Nice.
think that that's where Ladybugz is going to focus more and then have the other two kind of like go off on their own. And I have great people leading those teams. VCs are buying niche agencies. So I
Right.
think, in the end, if I decide, I don't want to do the biotech space anymore, or I don't think I would ever sell that brand, I can separate it out. And if I decide this is too much, I would just sell that to other agencies. That
Right.
way I'm helping another agency. I'm going to be doing this for maybe 5 years more. And if I can help
Hmm.
another local agency kind of get to where they want to go, I'll fine with that. I'm definitely never going to sell the company to a big company.
Begin with the end in mind. You have a picture of what you want this to achieve in 5 years, and you're starting to execute the plan. It's fun to be at those beginning stages, especially when you know what the plan is, where
Mhm.
you want it to go. Does each agency have its own lead gen and sales team? Do they generate leads the same way? Do you have leads come in and just pick, okay, this one goes here, this one
No,
goes
they
here, or
come in
how do
through
you
the
go
different
about it?
brands. Yeah, no, they come in through the different brands. So it really depends what they're looking for, in terms of what the services. They'll either come in through like referrals or, and depending like where we did the project from, but it is going to be more and more separate over time. But, we had to get to this point to even think about it. We
Mhm.
always wanted to do it because Ladybugz was such a broad brand that we knew that eventually we were going to probably branch off. So just doing that mindfully and knowing we would have to be there eventually. They definitely have their different people. Like they really are going to be three different companies. Right now, they're semi three companies, but we'll
Right.
get.
No, that's awesome. My next question was going to be around boundaries. In a service-based business, it can get easy to say yes a lot,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You've figured out like, what a service company might need is going to be a bit different than what a biotech company is going to need.
Mhm.
So if I'm saying yes to all my service companies over here,
Mhm.
I need these biotech folks to be focused on saying yes to the biotech folks over here, siloing out skill sets essentially.
You can do that as one agency if that's how you
Yeah.
want to do it, and that's fine. But I'm thinking in terms of with a sale in mind. If I was a
Hmm.
biotech, this is what I would do.
Right.
People in biotech might have three different technologies or products, and they will create like three different entities so that like if some company wants to come in and buy it, they don't want to sell off all of it. They just might want to sell off the pieces that are more valuable to those clients. That's
Hmm.
what I'm trying to do. It's like, and the other thing with the service-based business is that is local. So, that is just a whole different business than
Right.
doing biotech stuff because that's like basically nationwide that we're doing that and even overseas. So it is a totally different market. It's different people, it's different skill sets. So it
Yeah.
just
So
makes more sense.
you,
And it's almost like easier to run three little companies than one giant company. If you put the right people in place,
mhm.
because then you'll get like if we get bigger, we're just going to get more bureaucratic. So I don't really want to be like have people be responsible like for three parts of the company and be trying to do that under Ladybugz. I just really want to figure out what the best business is, how we can make it the most efficient. And I just feel like if they're all separate, that will help with that. I know it seems crazy, but just like do it a little different because, and it depends how you work as a CEO too.
Sure.
So for me, that works better for my team and my exit strategy.
That sounds like a home run to me, to be honest. When we start businesses, we think there's one way to do it, trying to do it that way. But in reality, you have to find the way that works for you and your people. Who
Mhm.
knows what that's going to look like? I'm sure the way you do things now is not the way you did things when you first got started in the digital agency space, right? Is there anything you can think of that's like just 180 degrees different?
I mean, with my previous agency, yes, that's why I wanted to create my own agency. So we're doing everything different than before, even in the agency space. My employees work a 32-hour work week. And in agency space, that's like, really? Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
so, it is hard and it is agency and it's a service-based business, so people have to work hard, but we've offset it by using contractors for projects and
Mhm.
not having more resources for the team so that like one employee doesn't have to do so many things.
Mhm.
And like I don't know if like are you less profitable because you do that? I don't think if you work people to death, you're going to be more profitable. And I
Right.
think that's something that agencies still have not realized because they're just
Yeah.
going to try to get the most out of people. But I have found if people work less time, they put more effort in, they're more excited and they don't get burnt out. They can take on side projects. You just want people to be happy and inspired. If they don't work as much, that's that's what does it. Then I
Yeah.
have other people that like to work all the time, and they'll do everything. So like if they love it, it depends on your team, full-time employees.
Yeah, and I think being able to offer up that level of flexibility to your full-time
Mhm.
employees, you're right. I mean, you have them for longer. Churn costs money, right? Every time
Mhm.
somebody leaves and you got to hire a new
Mhm.
person, there's training, and I think you're right. I think long-term profitability
And it's
for
also
sure.
how much money do you need to make? How much profit do you need to make? Like, what is that balance of like, yes, this is worth it for me. I'm making what I want. My employees are making what they want, and the
Yep.
business is thriving for everybody involved. In a way, I don't even look at it like it's my business. Like this, I always tell everybody, like, Ladybugz is our gift to us. Let's ride it out and do the best with it.
I really appreciate you sharing your experience and your expertise with us today. It's been awesome chatting with you. Was there anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't talk about?
Not really. We have a limited amount of time, so you can't talk about everything. I'm sure I could talk
Yeah.
all day. I think one of the things is when I went back out on my own, I had no clients. I didn't bring anybody with me. I had nothing when I left my previous agency. That was my dream to build that agency, but then it was like, no, this wasn't really where I wanted to be. And so, I was 50 when I did that. I'm 54
Hmm.
now. And so, I just think that if you believe in something and are passionate about it and really think you can do it, like you should, even at 50. Like, what was I going to do? Like, after leaving there, was I going to go get a job or was I going
Hmm.
to, I wasn't in a retirement position. So, I just started doing work again, freelance, and Ladybugz just evolved on its own. It wasn't like, oh, I want to grow an agency. It was nothing like that. Just got some freelance work, a bunch of referrals. People I knew over the years came to me. And the next thing I knew, I had a full-blown agency. If you're doing what you love, like everything, not that you have to love your job that much, that like, oh, you want to do it all the time. But if you have a purpose behind it, especially if you're an entrepreneur, just do it. I'm not saying like quit your job or have a side gig, do things you love, and eventually you'll figure it out. Because I think a lot of people just get stuck in these like mentalities of like, I'm too old, I don't know how to do
Hmm.
this. But if you have a vision and things you love to do, you should just do it.
It can be hard sometimes. I'm sure there are folks listening who are thinking about starting an agency. Maybe they are freelancers and they want to take it to that next step, or maybe they're working a corporate job and thinking about quitting. Your advice is spot on, right? Start on the side and see where it goes. The more you do, less thinking, more doing, the faster things are going to move. So I think your advice is spot on. And clearly, you're going to help other people create their own iterative journeys to follow, which is awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa. Where can people find you online?
You can go to our website, which is ladybugz.com. But if you want to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn mostly. So
Okay,
I'm Lisapreneur on there. I think that's not too hard to find me if you type that in.
absolutely.
Connecting with people on LinkedIn. That's kind of been my place for a while.
I'll include links to both the places in the show notes so
Um,
people can click and find you. Thanks again, Lysa. I really appreciate it.
1,